This conference will now be recorded.
This is the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees, City of Davenport, Iowa. It's Tuesday, March 16th, 12 p.m. We're meeting in the large meeting room of the main library. My name is Steve Inning. I'm the president of the trustees. This meeting is being held as a partial electronic meeting. It's being held that way because a fully in-person meeting is impossible or practical due to concerns for the health and safety of board members, staff, and the public presented by the COVID-19, and to follow the mayor's executive order directing social distancing and placing restrictions on gatherings. In-person attendance by the general public at any City of Davenport public meeting within its facilities shall be limited to 20 persons. Okay, with that, I'll call the roll. Malavika Tragandi. Judy Lambs.
Here.
Tom Engelman.
Here.
Joe Heinrich.
Here.
Amanda Motto.
Here.
Thank you. Sylvia Roba.
Here.
Thank you. Maggie Motto. Craig Weaver. Oh, sorry. Craig said he was going to be absent. Okay. We have a forum. Also, participating in the meeting, either in person or virtually, are Amy Groskoff, the library director, Casey Shipley, Porter, Jennifer Williams, operations manager, Lexi Riling, assistant library director, Laura Dennis, president of the Friends of the Library Board, and Alderwoman Marion McGinnis, our council liaison. Thank you, everyone, for your time and attendance. And we'll move on to the agenda item now. Next agenda item, that is the consent agenda, which includes approval of the agenda, approval of the minutes of the February 16th and March 8th meetings, and the financial reports. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I said you.
Thank you, Malavika. I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Malavika?
Aye.
Judy?
Yes.
Thank you. Tom?
Yes.
Thank you. Joe?
Yes.
Thank you. Amanda?
Yes.
Thank you. Sylvia?
Yes.
Thank you. And my own vote is yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda today is the public with comment. Is there anyone participating in the meeting from the public that would like to comment? Hearing and seeing no one, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Reports and communications. First item there is the Friends. Laura, you have a report for us today?
Hi, everyone. Yep. Just a quick update. The Friends Board is still working on our annual board work plan to identify some goals. We hope to get that finalized next month at our next meeting. Amy did share, I think last time, that we had a family very generously donate $50,000, and they will have a study room named after their family. So working on that. In fact, I know I'm going to write a personal thank you note in addition to the thank you note sent on behalf of the Friends by Tracy, so I'll work on that. We had our meeting in person at the main library last week or 2 weeks ago, and we were able to tour the renovations, and I think that the board really appreciated that. You know, it's really nice to see how the renovations are coming along and the progress that we've made, and kind of being able to tie our fundraising efforts to the construction and the renovation there. I think that that is all that I have in terms of updates. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Laura. Are there any questions for Laura? Thank you. Move on. Next item in the reports and communications, committee report. Tom, is there anything from finance?
Just a comment. I mean, we're 2/3 of the way through the year, but we haven't spent quite 2/3 of our budget. So I think that's, with all of the effects of the pandemic, I think that's good management. So that would be my comment.
Thank you. Any questions on the finance report for Tom? Hearing none, we'll move on. Next item on the committee reports agenda item is personnel. Amanda, any comments there? Reports?
Nope, nothing on our end today.
Okay, thank you. Next item on committee reports is advocacy. Malvika, you have anything?
I just saw something, 3 of our staff members are retiring, and we just thought of getting next card for all of them. And if we could, before we leave, if we could, sign or write our best wishes. And I just thought of getting a small box of chocolates from Lego Marcinos for each one of them. So, just a gesture of wonderful thank you for their great service here to did it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next item under communications and reports is the director's report. Amy?
Okay, thank you. Just to quickly tag on to what Malvika said, if I do a little bit of quick math, we're when these 3 staff members leave us, we're going to be out like between 90 and 100 years of experience with our organization. So
Wow.
they've really been working with us for a really long time. So we're certainly going to miss them. Just a few things. So the renovation, like I said, is coming along, and those of you who are here in person can get a tour when we're done with the regular part of the meeting. We had a meeting with the architect and the contractor this morning, and we are on track to open the 22nd. Things will be done except those second floor restrooms. So we might find that there are still things that are happening, but we can be open without those things. So that is working. With the additional donation we got and some other things, some other cost reductions actually in the project, we can, once we have all the bills paid, I think it's really feasible that we can look at doing some other things at Main. We had hoped to take a look at some of the landscaping, and then we just had to pull that out because of cost. It would be really nice if we could do something with the landscaping, especially on 4th Street. And we have some issues on the front porch. It'd be nice to get newer, better bike racks so that our bike riding customers were not always, they like to lock their bikes on the fencing instead of using the bike racks and all those kinds of things. So hopefully we'll have a chance to take a look at that, as well as a few other things that we didn't do inside the building because, again, it just looked like we were going to be over budget, and now we're not looking to add a few of those things in. So we'll be talking about those. One surprise that I got, because I convinced myself that we had to remove all of the exterior lighting from the project in order to meet budget, because to do 3 sides of the building was like about $160,000. It was what was estimated, but what we have in the project is they took it out of the project for the north side and the south side of the building. So the front porch will still have the exterior lighting done. So that is all in progress. So so that's really exciting that we'll have that. Let's see. An upcoming project for the board we've talked a number of times about the changes in Iowa's public employee bargaining law. So that a number of things that were in the contract are no longer in the contract and instead are going to become library administrative policies, which need board approval. So hopefully next week sometime, we're going to email all the trustees a very big packet of board policies. So what we did was Jennifer took, I don't want to claim any credit for that, Jennifer took the existing personnel manual and divided that out into individual policies to make it easier to update and for staff to find things in it. So, so we will be sending you that extensive list of policies to read through, and then starting in April, we'll have a portion of those on the agenda for board approval for April, May, and June. So that's all done by July 1st, when the existing union contract is no longer in effect. So we wanted to give people plenty of time to read through those. So just wanted to let you know that that will be upcoming. Another project that's coming up is the strategic plan. So we did a strategic plan in 2017 to 2020, and then we extended it last year to go through calendar year 2021. So by the end of 2021, we need to have a new strategic plan in place, either a 3 or 5 year plan. So hoping to get some input from the board as to what kind of approach you think we should take this year. So we've done it a number of ways in the past. So last time we did one, we worked with Library Strategies, and a number of you were at the those meetings that they had. So we worked with a consultant, so we could look to find a consultant again. Library Strategies was really pretty expensive, so I'd like to find somebody else, maybe local, that we could work with, if that's the direction the board would like to take. We've used also in the past the State Library of Iowa. Their consultant will also work with boards on strategic plans. So we've used that option before, and then we have done it ourselves before. So just looking for some thoughts from the board, or people want to email me separately so I can start gathering some information. I've been in contact with a couple of folks locally who offer this service as consultants, but if you, through your work with other nonprofits, have worked with other consultants that you thought were really good, we would certainly love to chat with them as well. So, but it's March already, so we need to get started on this project probably, June, so that we have something in place. So I think one of our challenges this year is going to be getting that public input. So we want to do some surveying and work with somebody who can help us not just survey our current users and our current stakeholders, but also members of the community who are not currently library users, to find out why not, what services, do they think the library should offer that they would take advantage of, and maybe there's nothing, but maybe there's really something that we've missed. But I think we want to have get some input that way as well. So in-person focus groups, depending on where we are with the pandemic, might be a challenge, but hopefully we can figure out ways, working with or without a consultant, to gather public input. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that right now that they'd like to share, or if you just want to think about it, and then, like I said, email me separately so we don't end up having an illegal meeting. We can take a look at what those options are.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
How many people on the committee or the board have been through this before?
You are likely the only person.
Only one that hasn't.
Strategic plan is the next trustee. Yep.
Okay. And number 2, do we partner with the city itself on stuff like surveys?
we can use their, I think we can probably like use some of their social media to expand our reach.
Okay.
And get things out that way.
Okay. And do we have a budget?
We will.
Yes, that's 3.
Yeah, we will likely end up using some of our state grant money. That's one of the allowable expenses from our state grant money.
Thank you.
Just a thought, just a thought. It's like I started thinking, you said those people who are citizens who are not the members, like, how can I help you kind of situation. Oh, and I thought of the next door, something where we can reach almost. I mean, as a trustee, if I would like to advocate in my, I would be happy when it comes to doing it within my home community, my own community, neighborhood watch meetings. That's what I mean by that, But that's the thing that just struck me. That is where I would help hosting to see how I can help get that outreach out. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think, however, if we put something out, on our social media with a link to a survey, however we can expand our reach with that, and yeah, the city would be happy to help us. And we post things for them, like the Parks Master Plan information. So we posted that on ours, so we do help each other out with that.
Maybe the chamber also, like, we are a part of downtown with the TAC 2030,
Yeah.
Any questions, comments? Anyone else have any questions or comments regarding Amy's report? Particularly, I guess, the strategic plan. If you have suggestions on who we might use as facilitator, or any suggestions on how to involve non-library users, surveys. Appreciate your comments. If there are none now, please email Amy with any of those so we can hit the ground running on this strategic plan. Okay, moving along. Next item on the agenda under reports and communications is council liaison. Marian, anything more?
I'm here. Yeah, this is Marian. I'm here. I cannot hear anything that's being said very well. I could distinguish people's voices, so I will be quick. And I'll probably sign off. I literally cannot understand anything in this meeting, and I had to jump off the internet and go to my phone. So I apologize for that. It's probably something here at the house. In any case, I don't have a lot today. You guys probably saw the report, and it does impact downtown. So I thought I would, if you haven't, it's good news. Right now, and this is always subject to change, but right now, as of last week, the report from the National Weather Service, the flood impact from snow is almost 100% zero. So, if there's flooding, if there's rain, heavy rain in the spring, but it's not going to come from snowpack. So that was very, very good news, for downtown and disruption and all of that. And the other thing is, that I know that there's been a lot of conversation and a lot of press about the new COVID package that's coming out. There's going to be about $41 million to the city of Davenport. Some of the reports are a little confusing, and I've asked, I reached out to Corey this week. We will be doing some kind of report at the management update and probably at the council meeting. But the bottom line is it's very premature right now. There were a few false starts through the country. There were, states that had major cities left out of the package. And in any case, we weren't left out, and we will receive the dollars, we believe, directly from the federal government because it's the way because of the size of our city. But we're going to probably have an update this week, but really until they see all the details, which nobody has, it's really kind of don't make assumptions, I guess. I'm sure there'll be some for business, some for, renters, people, in housing crisis. some dollars to offset perhaps some loss to cities in terms of revenue, related to COVID. But it's really early days right now. It's great news for us, obviously, but really early days. So take everything with a grain of salt until you hear something official from the city. I've had emails, oh, you should do a news conference, blah, blah, blah. It's too early. So I just wanted to let you guys know that, and I think it will be very public when it happens. We are going through the budget approval process. We're starting that, or the hearing for to approve the budget for next year. This is, the part of our process, and we have to be on track for this. And so that's coming along. But that's pretty much business as usual. So really nothing else new to report today. If anybody has anything for me, I'll listen hard, but I'm not sure I can hear anything.
Yeah, Marion, if you could keep us advised perhaps on the dollars that are coming in from the recent.
I cannot understand a word you're saying. I heard you say Marion. That's it. I cannot understand a word you're saying.
Fine, I'll get in touch with you.
So I tell you what, shoot me an email maybe, when it's over or whatever. I really apologize, but it's usually pretty bad, but this is like real, the connection. That's something's got to happen with that microphone in that room.
I know I'm having a really hard time hearing as well. I can hear you,
Okay.
Marion, and I've been able to hear Amy, but I have really not been able to hear anybody else.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So it's just maybe a bad day, but anyway, so shoot me an email if you have, you guys know that anytime you have any questions. All right. I did get to see the library last week. Very cool. A little sneak peek. It was wonderful. So very excited about that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Marion.
Where is the main
Ah.
speaker?
Okay,
Oh,
that's where it is.
okay.
Okay, so next item on the agenda is new business. And to approve the policy regarding the request for reconsideration. So we have a motion in that regard.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Malavika. Second, thank you, Tom. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the policy regarding the request for reconsideration of library materials. Is there any discussion?
We can just share that so we cleaned up some of the titles that had changed for the people who would be on a committee that would review and complain. And then added information that if the request was submitted electronically, we'll respond in the same manner. So I think that was a suggestion from one of the trustees at our previous meeting. So those were the only changes.
Okay. Any question? Oh, yes, Malavika.
I just had a quick question too, just to understand. Maybe the last line, please refer to the river share overdrive collection development policy if the title is on that platform. That means if it is electronically available, right? That's what it means, right?
Yeah, it means that our overdrive platform is something that we share with all of our consortium members in RiverShare.
Yeah.
And some of those titles are owned by the consortium. They're not really owned by Davenport Public Library, even though our patrons have access to them.
Mm.
So there's a separate policy for that if we receive a request to review an item that's available on that particular platform. So we go through the RiverShare directors group. Yep.
The whole, so consortium policy, different.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just a different process.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments regarding the request for reconsideration of library material policy? Okay, if not, I'll call for the vote. Judy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Sylvia?
Yes.
Thank you. Malavika?
Yes.
Thank you. And my own vote is yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda under new business is motion to approve the library electronic resources use policy. I'll entertain a motion in that regard.
I'll move.
Thank you, Judy. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. We have a motion and a second to approve the library electronic resources use policy. Is there any discussion?
Again, so the two changes there were, we just wanted to just kind of reinforce the fact that while we have computers in designated youth and teen areas, that we do not, we rely on parents, and it's a parent's responsibility to monitor their child's use of the internet. And then our IT supervisor, Jason, requested that, or suggested it might be good if we put something in about kind of deliberate damage of our actual equipment, as opposed to like misusing software and things like that. So, so we did add that in as well.
Thank you, Amy. Any other comments or questions regarding the electronic resources use policy? Okay, if not, call for the vote. Tom?
Yes.
Thank you. Joe?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Thank you. Sylvia?
Yes.
Thank you. Malavika?
Yes.
Thank you. Judy?
Yes.
Thank you. And my own vote is yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a motion to approve use of up to $8,000 from the Eastern Iowa Community College District Personnel Restricted Gift Account to hire part-time temporary outreach staff for summer outreach programming. May I have a motion in that regard?
So move.
Thank you, Joe.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion from Joe, second from Malavika. Is there any discussion?
So this is, we're just really, I think I've shared before, we're planning to really do quite a lot of outreach programming this summer. We are partnering with the Parks Department to identify 4 parks in underserved areas of the city. So we will be there the same day every week for a period of 6 weeks. And then hopefully doing other additional programming with outreach, simply because it's going to be outside and is that much safer and is a way we can really do more programming this summer. We're hoping to put some extra emphasis on fun literacy strengthening types of activities, because we know that the young kids, especially in literacy scores, have really taken a beating because of the impact of COVID. So we're hoping that we can provide a little bit of assistance for that. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think it's right, our youth services supervisor shared with me that the goal of the Davenport schools is to have every kid signed up for the summer reading program this year, which is really pretty amazing. So I think they're recognizing as well that that reading and literacy achievement has just really kind of struggled this year, along with many other things. So so we just really looking at our staffing, thought that we could really do this much more effectively if we could use some of that that funding. That account has been sitting there for many years, and it just doesn't make sense to not spend it for something that we really think will have an impact in the community.
How would that work around the, if the school does it, they would have certain hours, or would it be tied to that, or? I mean,
Well,
so
for
you
the
wouldn't have
summer-
to compete.
For summer reading,
Yeah.
So we will run that program after school is out for the summer. Our program will be probably shorter this year because schools don't let out until June 16th. So we were looking at then having the new staff members, the temporary staff members come in like the week after for some training and then start the program the week after that and run for about 6 weeks.
Okay, so when is my question is about the hours of the summer reading program. And so how would you plan when to do this at the parks?
Oh, we're looking at doing it from 11 to 1
Okay.
During the day. And because that also potentially could include a meal, depending on where we are for a school summer meal site. So that the parks is looking at coordinating that to make sure that we pick some of those areas where meals are going to be delivered. So we anticipate these staff members will work 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Because if it's a 2-hour program, by the time you get here, we get the vehicle, we get to the place, we get it set up, and then come back, and then Friday would be a planning day for the next week, is what we're anticipating.
What is the summer reading program for all the other schools?
So we run.
So you said the schools were going to try to get every student involved at the center.
With our summer reading program. So we run a program during the summer that encourages kids to read, and as they reach certain milestones and do certain activities, they turn in their reading logs for chances to win drawings and things like that. So it's really, I always call it bribing kids to read, but and then we do a lot of previous years we've done a lot of programming to go along with that. So a lot of that programming will be outside this year, and hopefully we can take it out to families as well as have some limited outdoor programming at our locations.
In any way, Steve, Amy, would it help if we could help the library? Like, you said the school district is trying to see to it that they register. So in any way, would it help if, during their board meetings, if we go and speak or, talk about the summer reading program when it's like, all in planned and ready to go?
Yeah, once we're ready, I think, we can certainly check with the school board or the superintendent and see how they feel about that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then they tape all the Zoom meetings and the parents seem to be listening to all the Zoom meetings these days.
Yeah.
So, if we could help in some way to share.
We've talked about extending the time for the program. Usually it ends before the start of school, but we think we'll have an option for students to return their logs at their school when they return, if they can't get to the library. So that will help out as well for people to participate. Because we've heard that before. Some of our youth services supervisors, with her students when she was at the school, when they would come back and she'd say, well, but did you finish, summer reading program? Did you participate in that? Well, I did, but I couldn't turn my log and I couldn't get there. So hopefully we can avoid some of that and get kids in the drawing for some of the incentives. Okay.
Are there any other questions and comments about the motion to approve use of up to $8,000 from the Eastern Iowa Community College District Personnel Restricted Gift Account to hire part-time temporary outreach staff for the summer outreach programming? Okay, seeing and hearing none, call for the vote on the motion.
Yes.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, Amanda.
Yep.
Thank you. Sylvia?
Yes.
Thank you. Malavika?
Yes.
Thank you. Judy?
Yes.
Thank you. Tom?
Yes.
Thank you. My own vote is yes. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda under new business is a motion to name one of the study rooms at the main library, the Xenia and James Patton Study Room. Entertain a motion in that regard.
I'll move.
Thank you, Tom. We have a motion. Is there a second? Okay. Thank you, Malavika. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
So this is the 50,000.
Yeah. Except the guy I was gonna ask that.
But
It is.
Question was if this was the $50,000 gift, and the answer is yes. Tom?
The only other question I have is, this falls within the parameters of our naming policy,
Yes, yes, it does. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
because I'm an advocate for naming everything. People want to buy a urinal, they could buy a urinal.
They got in touch with us and asked all, like what were the various opportunities that they had, and Tracy worked with them and shared all that information with them, and this was what they decided to do.
Thank you, Tracy, for your work on that. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the motion to name one of the study rooms at the main, the Xenia and James Patton study room? Okay, if not, I'll call for the vote. Amanda?
Yes.
Thank you. Sylvia?
Yes.
Thank you. Malavika?
Yeah.
Judy?
Yes.
Thank you. Tom?
Yes,
Thank you. Joe?
Yes.
Thank you. And my own vote is yes. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to adjourn. Before that, though, I'd just like to say, just remind everybody, if we have any suggestions for a strategic plan facilitator or how to involve non-patrons, those things would be helpful. Please let Amy know. Also, according to last week's Monday Eye Opener from the State Library, next month, April, is the School Library Month. So that's a good thing. I wanted to swing back, if I could, just one moment to the director's report. I had a question. There was wasn't in your report, but there was a article in the paper about the city of Davenport that involved the food forest.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wondered, is that any of that? Are we having any issues with that, or is everything going okay?
We planted with some grant money for the food forest. We planted some additional trees last year back there, and we're pretty much maintaining them ourselves. It hasn't really been a problem.
Okay.
So, and I think there was like an apple on each apple tree, and maybe there was a peach, like one.
One?
Wow, peach.
For like, the first year of the trees.
Yeah, yeah.
So I haven't been out. Well, it's a little early to go out and look and see how everything did over the winter. But
Where is this?
it's on kind of in the backyard at Fairmont, at the Fairmont Ranch.
But the whole problem with the one in the press was they didn't maintain it, and so
Yeah.
neighbors were having
Yeah.
kids, yeah. Yeah, you plant, you better.
Yeah. The trees, and my wife and I went back there a couple of months ago and just looked to see what was going on, and it was a pleasure to find out that I think all of them are still, they all still had leaves on them anyway, so that was good.
And you got the last hanging apple, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't see it. When I was
Frozen.
okay. I guess.
See,
Yes, Malvika.
I wanted to check if it's okay to have their permission to write their names on those cards, like Amanda, Sylvia. Is it okay if we sign them? Because I just wanted to.
Yeah, for Amanda and Sylvia, for the cards for the retirees, is it okay if we add your name to those cards?
Sure. Thank you.
Great.
So everybody else is there in person?
Almost. Craig and Maggie are not here, but
Wow.
everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going out to meetings yet, but maybe one day. I've had the vaccine, so
Okay.
maybe I'll see you next month.
Okay. Amanda? Okay.
She had to leave.
We'll handle that. Okay. Seeing as that's the end of our agenda, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
Second.
Malavika, thank you. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Call for the vote. Sylvia,
Yes.
thank you. Malavika,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and yes, Amanda dropped off. So my own vote is yes. The motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Steve, I'll take a few of those too.
Yes.
Judy, and is that